Girls, talk, shirts, girls, talk, shirts, girls, talk, shirts.
Girls talk.
Girls talk shirts.
Okay, well, if you couldn't tell from that entrance, 1, Anthony is here in the office with me. 2, Savannah is not, and she has called in and is talking with us via phone call this week because she is feeling a little under the weather. Man, I am crying I was not expecting him to go the way he did in that song. He just really went for it. How are you feeling, Savannah?
First off, I was not expecting any of that from Anthony. And we were trying to plan like when to say girls talk shirts whenever he was done. And I was listening so intently, trying to make sure I got right whenever he was done. And so that was fantastic. But I am a little under the weather. I have been for a couple of weeks actually now. My doctor thinks maybe it is allergies, which I've never had, but they did put me on an antibiotic. And so hopefully that kicks in quickly and we can get through this because it's been annoying to say the least. But yeah, I'm feeling okay. I sound really gross, but it is what it is. It is what it is. The Lord has his hand over me because I'm not extremely sick and ill and unable to do anything. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes. Could you imagine like if you were so sick that you had to miss like a week of school or something?
I don't think that's even possible because I'm telling myself I could be on my deathbed and we are making it to class every week. And I have done that. So we're good. I made it through nursing school while I had COVID. Granted, it was virtual, so I did it from the comfort of my bed. But my first whole week of my last semester of nursing school, I got COVID and I was virtual for the week and made it through. So I can make it through anything.
All right. Well, I believe in you. And that's all that really matters. So this week we have Anthony here. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. Long time listener, first time caller.
We thought it would be fun to have Anthony come in once and him and I can kind of talk about
He and I.
That too, about our relationship and everything. And then maybe next week or whenever Aaron, Savannah's husband, can come in and they can talk about their relationship and everything. So here we are.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I know I have been around for the entirety of the Eisen relationship and marriage. And so I think it'll be fun to kind of dive into maybe Anthony's perspective on things. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, you know what? It is interesting that you have been around for the entirety of it. I can remember when Anthony and I said I love you to each other for the first time. Do you remember me like telling you about that day and us telling each other I love you and whatnot?
I feel like I do have slight memories of different aspects of your relationship. Yes, I do.
I know that like the day before Anthony and I had like this date and we said I love you to each other the first time, for some reason we were all together. I think we spent the night at somebody's house. I want to say it was possibly our team mom from Fine Arts. We were all at her house for whatever reason. And I think I remember like telling you like, oh, Anthony and I are going to hang out tomorrow. And I think I'm going to tell him that I love him. And then it was, I don't know how many if it was like 2 days later or whatever. But then like we were at church and we were in somebody's car, I think. And I remember telling you, and I think one other person was there, and I was like, and then I just said, I love you, or whatever it was.
I do have a memory of that. I don't remember whose car we were in and who was with us. It had to be somebody close to us, if for one, we were in the car, but two, if you were like comfortable enough having that conversation in front of them. But yeah, that was a big moment for sure, just because I know that was something, new for you in terms of like telling somebody, that you love them in that way. And but yeah, I just remember how sweet I always thought your whole relationship was even from the beginning, because I remember when you went on your first date specifically, like I remember getting told about it like very soon after, and then it just led into then your engagement and then your wedding and the children and the moving home and all the things that have gone into y'all's marriage. I just remember every part of it just being so sweet and just genuine.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very new for me. I did speak on a previous episode, somewhere in season 1, of how I just always had very low self-esteem and never really thought of myself as somebody that would ever be in like a committed relationship and like ever getting married. Like I honestly believed that I was going to be like one of those like people that like worked in the church and like never got married, never had any kids, but they just
nun?
they just dedicated similar. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have nuns in, like the Assemblies of God Church, but somebody similar to that, like because they didn't have like a family of their own, they just dedicated their life to, working in the church and doing whatever little odd jobs, that needed to be done somewhere in the church. And I honestly believed that like, that's going to be me. I'm just going to be like Sister Mary over there or whoever, because nobody's ever going to like me enough to want to ever marry me, and then
Wrongo.
And then this guy came around and kind of changed everything.
May I say a few words?
Oh, sure.
First of all, the podcast is great. I compliment both of you. The revival of it, just perfect, and I'm proud of both of you. It's just great. It's great. There's that. Thanks for having me on. It's
No
more
problem.
fun being here than being at home with the children. So there's that. Number 1. Number 2, I've got, what are these little fuzzy things on the microphone?
Why is that where you're leading the question? 1, I don't know. You bought this equipment.
Well, I don't know. But what does it do?
Surely the fuzzy part is to...
It doesn't change the sound if I take it off.
I think maybe it's to protect the actual microphone that's underneath it. And maybe it does help with like softening.
I think it's like acoustics or something.
Yeah, maybe softening the sound or something. But
Sure.
Can you stop messing with it? Because I can hear it in my microphone every single time you...
In your microphone?
I mean, in my headphones every single time you take it on and off. Was there anything else you wanted to say in that moment?
That was it.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I did ask a handy dandy Chat GPT. We know how reliable it can be, to just kind of give us kind of like a little outline of where we can try to lead this conversation. The first thing it says is to share some fun memories. Share a few funny or memorable moments from your relationship. This can lead to great stories.
Oh, nice. Well, would a man and a woman love each other?
Stop. Do you have...
I'll just give you my little rundown.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
I was in college. I had never dated a person a day in my life. Except there was this one time I took Bob's daughter for an airplane ride, but that was not... hopefully
a
Bob
date.
and Bob's
For
daughter
Bob's
don't listen
daughter,
to this.
that was a date.
Well, it
for
wasn't
her.
for me. I'll say it publicly here. Publicly. Publicly. It was not a date. I was doing it in kindness to Bob.
Now we have to get a hold of Bob's daughter and get her opinion on the
I don't want
matter.
that. I have nothing to do with that. So it was not a date. She ended up throwing up when we were landing. So that really
you took her on quite a ride.
It was crazy. It's like, this person that I don't really want to be doing this with is throwing up. Anyhow, that wasn't a date. But then there was a girl at the bank, and Alex, my brother, pressured me into trying to set me up. Said, just go in there and ask her for her number. And so I went in there, and then she gave me her number. The first time in my life I'd ever done anything like that. Was I 20? How old was I when I met you? 2012. That put me about 21 years of age. So then went in there and got this girl's number, and then left. And within 30 minutes, I had lost the little piece of paper that she put it on.
That was the Holy Spirit saying, you don't need this number.
And then Christopher was working at the state attorney's office, I think. Yeah, still working in the state attorney's office. And he said, well, what's her name? I'll look her up, which probably is illegal. So
let's just talk about this on the podcast.
Edit this part out. So and then, you don't want to deal with this. Apparently there were some problems. I didn't know how to read the signs right, apparently. She was working at the bank. She was trusted with the fiduciary duty of maintaining people's monies. So anyhow, I didn't really want to go out with this person. She also lived in a mobile home, which was fine. Which was fine. It was fine. You live in a mobile home, but it was just a lot of.
Any home can be mobile if you try hard enough.
A lot of zeros adding up to a zero. So it was a little strange. Everything was a little strange, and somehow I found the number again and arranged for a date. And then she didn't show up. She never called back. It was weird. I think I got stood up. So that wasn't a date either. That because definitely was not a date. I never met the person outside of the bank. So then Rachel comes along, sister-in-law for the listener, and she says, "Oh, you need to meet this girl. She works with me." I was like, "Oh, I'm not really. I don't really want to date anybody. I'm not really into that scene. Not that I'm gay.
I'm still trying to figure out my identity.
I'm not gay. Was not gay. Still, I'm not gay." So I thought, Oh. Eventually, she came around. She just pestered me to death. I said, "Fine." And so I texted you.
Well, no, she also ended up pestering me and asking me for my phone number.
Pestered. So then, I got your number. I texted you. It's a very strange text. I hadn't texted women before, except from my mother. and it was essentially I said something about a man from Bolivia or something. It was really weird, remember?
I don't remember it.
Yeah, I was like, this could be, I'm not sure, I was given this number, because this could be a man from Bolivia for all I know. It was weird. It was a local number, so why would the guy be from Bolivia?
It was 863, so.
Okay. So then we went on the date. Well, let me back up. We arranged for a date, and I made reservations at all sorts of restaurants. Wasn't really sure what you liked or what you wanted to do. So we went on that first day. I picked you up. Never been on a date before. This is the first date. And you look just so lovely, and you still look lovely. And I thought, man, this girl's really good looking. And she's only gonna get better looking. I've said that to you. I know that sounds bad, but it's like it's just so wonderful. And so enjoyed. It was good chat. It was a good chat. We had good banter. And I think one of the first things I said to you when you got in the car was,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
This is so awkward. Everything's still awkward.
And I say you can just keep them right over there.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like, should I put my hands on you? It was this. I didn't know what to do at all. So then. We went on the date. We were at the date. We got to this restaurant that I was excited to take you to.
Do you want to explain what the restaurant is?
The restaurant was at Tampa International Airport. It was this revolving restaurant. The floor revolved
slowly. It wasn't like very fast.
Yeah, it wasn't like
it was like
tilt-a-whirl.
a slow it slowly rotated. That way you could kind of get like this 360 view of the airport and planes taking off and landing. And if you're into that sort of thing.
Where is this at?
It was at the Tampa International Airport, and it technically is still there. Like the building itself is still there, but it is not open anymore. It's a circular, I guess that would make sense. It's a circular building, and it's just like the top floor of it, and it revolves, just slowly moves. I had never heard of it before. I did not do things that often outside of Lakeland before I met Anthony, but he was very well versed in going to all sorts of places, and going over here to eat at the airport was, something that he
Food
was.
is clearly, by looking at me, a very important part of my life. Was then and is now. So that being said, we got there and I was real excited. I thought, well, even if this date's a dud, I'll get a good meal out of it. And so Emily didn't order anything. I thought, uh-oh, that's not a good sign.
I was very nervous.
So you didn't order any food.
So I was very nervous, and I wasn't hungry. It was a situation I had never been in before. I was away from home. I did not know. I now know how to get to and from Tampa without needing like a GPS. But at that point in my life, I didn't really know where I knew I was at the airport because you told me, but I didn't know.
I took the bag off your head.
I didn't know exactly, like, if I need to get away from here, I would know where to go. That sort of situation. I did not know you. Yes, we had been texting for a few days at this point, but I still didn't really know you. And so it was still just a very weird, slightly awkward type of situation. I don't know how people do like blind dates all of the time type of thing. Like I find it very anxiety driven. And so I was just very nervous and anxious. And so I just wasn't super hungry, but their dessert menu looked pretty good. So I just said, oh, well, I guess I'll just get dessert. And I could tell that was very disappointing for you, but you also ordered dessert. And
all I knew about dates at this point was what I'd seen on TV. I thought, oh, she's ordering dessert only. That's not a good sign. So I was pretty sure you didn't like me and whatever. And so we were on our way home, and you were answering all the right. You were just so great. You're still great. And I was so nervous. And never been on a date before. Never even been around a girl really, other than my mom. Not in a weird way, but I was so nervous. I was so sick. I was getting so nauseous. And so I said, oh, I got to stop at this Steak and Shake to go to the bathroom. And I left you in the car, and I ran and I threw up at the Steak and Shake. It's very, as you well know.
I didn't know that that's what you did for a while. Yeah. It wasn't until we were well into our relationship of like knowing each other that you felt comfortable in telling me, hey, yes, remember that first date? I threw up.
Real Casanova.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know that.
real Casanova. So that got over that. Then on the way home, you said that you're kind of weird, and I was like, oh, great. She didn't eat dessert. She only ate dessert, and she called me weird.
Now,
and so
I don't remember exactly what you said for me then to say that you're kind of weird, but I know I didn't say it in like. I wasn't saying it in a malicious way, the way that you
I definitely took it malicious.
Went home and like cried about it.
We didn't. Who said cry? Who said anything about crying? So there's that. So I left that day thinking, well, didn't go well. I thought it went well, but then I also didn't think it went well from your perspective. So you didn't really seem too eager, because I think I asked you at the end of the date if you would be interested in having a second date. And you said something like, "Oh, well, I'll see if I can pencil something in." I thought, "Oh, well, that's code for go screw yourself."
No, I don't even know what a pencil.
do what you have to do. So there's that. And so, and then I found myself not being able to sleep. Thinking about how it just drives me nuts. This girl doesn't seem to like me. Because you really put on a good show of not, if that, it was definitely convincing that you didn't like me. And so, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. If you know me, which probably none of your listeners do, I can eat a good deal, and I couldn't even I was getting Happy Meals. And I couldn't even finish the Happy Meals. I know that sounds ridiculous.
You were eating just,
but I could maybe eat one
like
chicken
bird
nugget.
Seed.
Yeah, I was going, and I just want to throw that. I was throwing up. I was a wreck. And then my mom and dad was talking to them, and they said, "Well, what's the matter?" And I said, "This girl." And it was so weird because I wasn't ever really.
I think though that a good deal of what you were going through at the time was you were also about to start law school. And I think you were also very nervous about that. And then you meeting me was just kind of a coincidence and kind of mingled with that anxiety that you had of starting law school.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it was more a you thing because it went away once I realized that maybe you like me. But then we went on a second date. The second date was weird. It was bad. And that, I think, that one's on you, I think. Because
you challenged
me. We
me.
went, and then we were somewhere. I think I took you to Orlando. And then on the way back, I said something just, like any normal person would just say, "Oh, I bet you can't go the rest of the date without talking." And you went the rest of the date without talking. And it was like halfway through the date. And so it was really, really kind of weird. But I thought, well, this seals it. She doesn't like me. She wouldn't talk. She didn't even talk. So there was that, and then I thought, oh well, maybe we'll go on a third date.
No, that is not how it happened.
I cut some of it out.
You cut off ties with me. You sent me a message.
It was clear you don't like me. So I thought, well, she's going to dump me, and then that's just going to be, and I'm really going to go into a tailspin on being ill. So to avoid hospitalization, I said, I'll just send her a message, say, hey, you'd probably be better off with somebody else. It seems like you didn't really like that date. Trying to be cool. I'd never been on a date before. so I was still trying to get used to it all. And then,
so we didn't talk to each other for
it was
several
weird.
Weeks, and then just out of nowhere you messaged me again.
I thought, you know what, this is getting out of hand. I'm gonna have to go out for a third date. The third date was pretty good. We went to Cirque du Soleil. We went on the third date. We said we love you.
The third date. The third date was really what kind of really set off the whole relationship.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yes, it was very nice. Although you did check your watch a lot during the Cirque du Soleil show, and I didn't appreciate that. If we're just throwing out secret things, I was upset that you were checking your watch so often during Cirque du Soleil.
Apologies. So there was that, and then there's so much content here.
We've got 12 years of a relationship now.
And we got married, and then we had babies.
You finished law school. You started your law firm by yourself.
Well, Christopher helped some, but I will say that.
If we're saying people who helped, helped.
I'm trying to say that if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am today.
You're welcome.
You know that.
I know. I take full credit.
The listeners know as well.
Savannah, I feel like Anthony and I kind of took over here a little bit. Is there anything that you want to ask or say, or
has she hung up?
I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, I must say. because I am learning all kinds of things about Emily in middle school and
Some crazy stuff.
all the your first date when Anthony got sick. I didn't know anything about that. And but yeah, I would like to know, because I know you guys have been dating for, I think it was like 6 months when you got engaged, right?
Yeah, it was like just under 7 months, I think.
Yeah. So did you guys have like a conversation of like getting engaged? Like prior to that, like did you have any idea that he was planning on proposing? And like when was it that Anthony, you decided like this is a woman I'm gonna marry, I'm gonna take her off the market?
I'll answer first. By like the 2-month mark of our relationship, like we had already started saying I love you. And at that point I was like, this is who I'm going to marry. I don't know when it's going to happen, but like I have found, the guy I want to spend the rest of my life with. And I can even remember like, that year when I went to, I was coaching, a team for fine arts, and we took a bus that year to get to Louisville where Nationals was. And I can remember talking to a friend, like on the whole drive up there, like, yeah, like we're going to get married and like, this is it. And then we did, talk about it with each other. And, but he was in law school, and so he wasn't working or anything. Like going to school was like his job pretty much. And he did start doing like these little, what were those things called when
mystery shopping?
Yes, he started doing this weird thing called mystery shopping, where he would go to different.
Yeah, I'm a weird person. You hear it back in the headphones.
I think they have other things that you can do. This was just the one that you chose to do, which is where you go to like a car dealership, and the website tells you like where to go and what to like ask for and whatnot. And the whole point of it is so they can kind of test their employees in a sense of like making sure that they are talking about the car in a certain way and promoting different things within the dealership. And so he would go to different car dealerships and do these, like this fake thing of like, oh, I want to buy this car. And he would take it for a test drive and talk with the sales guy about it and pretend like he was really interested, which is a difficult thing to do because car salesmen are very pushy people. And I went with him several times, and they would get very upset with you if you just kind of walk out, which is kind of understandable because they are working off a commission. But so he was doing as much of those as he could and trying to make a little bit of money. But I knew about how much he was making, and I knew he didn't really have that much to buy a ring. Especially we went to jewelry stores a couple of times for me to like try on rings. And I don't know if that was your clever way of like maybe trying to figure out like what size ring to get and everything. But I knew that you didn't have any money to buy any of like the rings that we had looked at, not knowing that one day your grandmother was going to offer you her ring, which I love. I love that it is like a family heirloom ring that we could maybe like pass down to our kids or our grandkids or something. And yeah, so it was something that we talked about to finally answer the question. It was something we talked about, but I was very surprised when it happened because I didn't think, I knew that he couldn't do it that soon because I knew he didn't have any money, but then he ended up being able to use his grandmother's ring, so he didn't have to, pay for it or whatever. So Anthony, would you like to say your
that's
side?
That's all accurate. My parents bankrolled us early on in our marriage, which was nice for the most part. And you were working, and that was nice. Then, let's see. I took your dad out to Crispers. Rest in peace, Crispers. And asked him if I could marry you. And the funny thing there was I pulled out the ring right as the waiter came to the table, and it kind of looked like I was proposing to your dad. And so there's that. Now, I did take some of that sweet mystery shopping money, and I bought a really nice box for and it had a light on it. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But I opened it so much before I asked you, it almost died. So, what I was getting at here was, so I think I knew I liked you on the first date. I thought this was it. What more could you want? What more is there? So that's pretty much what I knew. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'd only been on the one date.
I love it.
That was the date.
I know, like, for me, being like a mom was something that like I had always dreamed of.
Yes,
and ma'am. I know that we did welcome our first child fairly early on into our married relationship.
It's funny thinking about a baby coming out and then saying, welcome.
Oh my God. Right. So
they're not the most attractive when they come out. When they're all purple and go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So he was born on our second wedding anniversary. So very early on, still early on in our overall relationship. But I was over the moon, but on your side of things, you were still studying to take the bar and then go off and try to start your own law firm and start, actually, making money and bringing things in. And there are some times when I think, well, maybe I kind of forced us to start a family a little too soon. Maybe we should have waited a little bit until we were a little bit more solid in, your thing, before going on. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now. There's 3 of them now, so there's no going back, but.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize Atticus being here in any way. So I wouldn't even think of it. But I was still kind of getting over the fact that I held a girl's hand. I mean, I was just like, everything was so out of my comfort zone, like that there was a girl at all and blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not gay. And, and so there was all of that. It was just real crazy. But then with your love and support, I started my own firm with a little bit of Christopher's help. And now it is what it is today. 700 clients, give or take.
Do you want to talk about your law firm? Do you want to do like a little shameless plug of your own podcast real quick?
Sure. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of carryover audience here.
You know what? It's funny because I have always thought all of the people that are listening to Girls Talk Shirts every week are probably also all of the same people that need an aviation attorney.
That's right. That's right. Pretty much everyone will need one day or another. But essentially, what I do is very unique. Nobody knows what it is. Sometimes I question if you know what it is. But
you know what? I almost don't like telling people exactly what you do because then they ask me, oh, well, what does that mean? And I'm just like,
I want to make it very clear because other attorneys don't know what it is. People ask, oh, well, do you actually make money doing that? It's just a real crazy thing. So here's what it is. Pilots, people that fly airplanes, whether for recreation or for profession, require 2 things. Your actual pilot's license, like your driver's license, if you will. And then they also require medical certification.
Now, what exactly is a medical certification?
Right. So the Federal Aviation Administration, federal agency, federal government.
The FA?
Under the executive branch. Regulates the criteria by which a pilot the medical criteria that a pilot needs to meet in order to fly an airplane. Right.
Are you making this up as you go?
But I don't have a script. So the idea is essentially we don't want people, or they don't want people, having a heart attack while they're flying, or having a panic attack and crashing a plane into a building, trivial things like that. And so they certify. So you have to go see a doctor, and the doctor has to sign you off, and then they print you this medical certificate. Well, the problem is it's very difficult to get your medical in some cases. If you have anything, there's a difference between clinical medicine and regulatory medicine. And regulatory medicine is where this particular area is at what we do essentially. And so the thing is, though, that it's not that, although there are doctors and so on at the FAA that are reviewing the medical records of pilots and determining whether or not they're eligible to hold a certificate. The thing is, all of these criteria are outlined in the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFRs. And in the Code of Federal Regulations, it says, hey, you can't have this, you can't have that. You can have this, but it has to be in federal air surgeon's discretion. If it's going to make you fall out of the sky, you're going to crash your plane, we're not going to let you have it, blah, blah, blah. Right? And so there are legal processes that identify who's qualified or not. But like medical records and so on are the evidence to support that you meet that criteria. Are you following along?
I'm trying my best to pay attention.
Boring, of course. But the thing is, very difficult to get it in some cases if you have any medical history at all. And so what we do here at our firm is that we help people gather necessary records, get them with the right doctors, and then we present our arguments to the FAA why the airman is eligible for medical certification based off the evidence that we're putting in front of them. So we'll say, hey, this is what the regulation says. Here's the evidence that we're putting in front of you. And then if the FAA denies the individual, we can appeal that to the National Transportation Safety Board. And then we can go all the way up to the Supreme Court if we wanted to.
Ooh.
It'd be like a bill on Capitol Hill. We'd be in DC.
I'm just a bill.
We'd be in DC together.
I almost was saying that.
So that's what we do. And it just seems like, well, who could ever possibly need it? Well, the beautiful thing is, you don't realize you need us until you realize that you need us. You
don't realize you need us until you realize that you need us.
Very nichey, very much of a niche. It's a niche within a niche. People say, I just tell people I'm an aviation lawyer. Well, I'm not even really that. I'm FAA medical certification defense. Very nuanced. And the nice thing is that, we're probably one of maybe 2 law firms in the country that does this. And so we're able to cast a wide net of clients, pilots from all over the country. So we do well in that capacity, in that we're not like fighting with other personal injury lawyers.
What if I have zero interest in flying for fun or for a job? What if I am just at the airport because I've got a flight to catch and I'm going through security, and then I accidentally bump into a TSA agent as I'm going through said security, and they get their panties in a twist because they are technically a federal agent. And now I'm slapped in the face with a fine of $5,000 because I bumped into this person. Can your law firm also help me with something of that nature?
Yes. So we have a separate little division, just a small other little division where we do TSA defense work. So your situation, we would be able to help you with that as well. We had one case very similar to the facts that you just identified. Old lady, she's in her 80s, had arthritis, bad.
Old Arthur?
Her friend Arthur, and she went through the metal detector thing, and it signaled that there was maybe something hot.
Some metal?
Something in her groin area.
Uh-oh.
So So she got the pat down, and this is the most common issue that we see is that people get pat down, and the pat down is very aggressive in the groin area. And so, especially for women, I've heard all sorts of fairly grotesque descriptions of how it's gone. But
is it because they are needing to feel like if you are trying to sneak something through up inside of yourself?
Yeah, so it's fairly involved. This old lady, like they got to the lady parts, I guess, and she slapped the person on her arm, the person's arm.
The TSA agent's
The TSA agent's arm. It said, bitch.
Now I have to put on the podcast that we have explicit language.
And which, bad word. Sorry for saying it. But they find this individual.
Because of the hit or because of the word that she used or both?
They didn't care about the word per se, but they considered it more, it was like an assault on a TSA agent. So don't touch any TSA agents. Just don't do it.
It's been a while, but I know that there was one time, it was when Atticus was still small enough that I had him in the Tula baby carrier, and we were flying somewhere, and I had him in the carrier. I had the diaper bag that had formula and stuff in it, which they always had to test, which was annoying. Like, what do you think I'm putting in my child's baby bottle or whatever? And there was one time I had him in the carrier, and I was grabbing all of the bags and such, and I turned and I did bump into one of the agents, and you had already, had a couple cases of, people just bumping into them. And I start apologizing left and right because I didn't.
Yeah, I remember you saying, I'm sorry, bitch.
Stop it. But yeah, so I remember just feeling like I needed to apologize overtly because I didn't need this person thinking that they were so high and mighty that they couldn't be touched, even though it is, quite a small area there that they, are asking people to go through. And
the number one thing we see, though, are people bringing their guns in through luggage. Oh, I had it in my bag and I forgot about it. And that's the number one thing.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. Sorry about all that.
That's
what I do.
That's okay.
That's what I do. But I'm sorry for swearing.
That's okay.
Sin.
On the Lord's Day.
I sin. So that being said,
on the Lord's Day.
But now we've got, including my brother, we got 2 other attorneys. So there's 4 attorneys. My other brother, Alex, chiropractor.
You have really grown. Trying to tie it back into our relationship. What this.
So the thing is, I was fresh out of law school, had this baby, had no dollars at all, not even Canadian dollars, and I, and all I had was your love and support and your encouragement to say, hey, Paco, you can keep doing this. You're gonna do just. And we were going blindly into this area of, this bizarre niche, this bizarre. Area that it wasn't like, hey, you're going to go and do what everybody else does, and there's going to be a known formula. You're going to go work for this firm and get paid a steady paycheck and so on and so forth. No, you encouraged me. You like a budding flower. You watered. You encouraged me, and I blossomed.
Well, yes, of course.
And I did pay you back for all the monies that I borrowed up front.
Right. What I was going to say is to try to tie it back into our relationship. Yes, I did encourage you to, go out and do this very niche thing. But just to see like how much it has grown, that you do have like other employees now. It's not just you and then like me answering the phone and whatnot. Like, it is just such a testament to, at least from my perspective, the Lord's hand in not just our relationship, but in your work. 'Cause it was something that I prayed about a lot, was that you could get to this point of having employees, that it wasn't just all on your shoulders to, carry on the firm and to handle every single, client that called and everything. And it is just really great to see now, 12 years later, where we are at in our relationship and where you're at in your work. And it is exciting to think, where we could be, 12 more years from now when Atticus would be 20 years old. And
will I have a 6-pack of abs by then? I have to lose a lot of weight.
I don't know, but it'll be fun to wait and see.
Yeah, won't it be fun? 2 heart attacks later, and you'll finally shed a few pounds. Yeah, it's real exciting. Sorry, I'm so awkward. I wanted to say I'm just gonna be real normal. I'm just gonna answer the questions. I'm
gonna be completely opposite of myself and be normal.
I'm gonna be different. And it just came out awkward. It was weird, and I'm sorry.
It's fine. I expected nothing less.
Yes, sir.
But thank you so much for coming in and chatting with Girls Talk Shirts.
Well,
today.
The one thing I can say is that in memory of me, I would ask that your shirt of the day be at least 2 to 3X in nature.
So why don't we talk about extra large shirts?
Maybe
do you feel
throw in an extra, another extra?
Do you feel like they are being made adequately?
No.
We should have saved his magnetic button-up shirt for this episode.
How is it going? Back and forth between the magnetic and then the regular. Do you like the magnetic more because it's easier to get on and off?
The problem is I find myself in precarious situations in that, like the other day I was out, where was it? We were somewhere with Eloise where you wouldn't really want to be taking your shirt off. I had her on my lap and she moved just right and unbuttoned my whole shirt in front of everybody. And it was kind of like, oh shoot, I gotta button up quick. But the good thing about the magnets is you just get them close enough and then that's my little impression of it. It buttons right back up in a jiff. So
yeah. Do you feel like now the magnetic ones from this specific website, the Arctic Cool?
Yes, sir.
Their whole
Arctic
thing
Cool,
is that they are supposed to be like this moisture wicking, like cooling sort of material. Do you feel like when you wear those versus like the one that you're wearing today, do you feel like on a hot day, does it feel any different?
That's an excellent question. The problem here is that in order to conceal my man breasts appropriately, I wear a regular undershirt underneath it. So a
safety shirt.
Safety shirt. I don't want my breasts to be too defined, like a man brassiere, if you will. Okay. It also kind of concaves all the rolls into one. People might think, oh, he's not that fat. Wrong. The undershirt really helps. So the idea here is that I can't really tell a difference. Now, maybe if you did it without the undershirt, but I don't know. The world's been through enough.
You wearing an undershirt, like it makes sense to me.
You've seen the man breasts, and
I mean, like for just any guy. Are you telling me that there are guys out there that like with a button-up shirt?
Oh yeah,
they are not wearing an undershirt. Well, then,
I've seen
then why do you? Husband, but then why do
Aaron,
you see?
He seems to be
I feel like if that,
I'm sure he's not wearing an undershirt.
Can I finish a sentence?
I don't know.
If that was the case, if it wasn't such a accepted, everybody's doing it thing, then I feel like you would be hard pressed to find undershirts, but they are everywhere. You can go into a Walmart, Target, Dillard's, and you're finding undershirts. So it's not like you're the only one.
Well, no one ever said that nobody ever said that undershirts were hard to find. But what they did say was that it's really for the fat guys.
That's not true. They're not only in like extra large. Well, I was
trying to bring it to try to take this, Savannah. I do not consider Aaron fat in any way. He seems like I've not pictured him with his shirt off, but seems like he might even have some muscles. Does he wear an undershirt?
He does not.
See, there you go.
Like button ups or like a t-shirt, but he wears a lot of tank tops, so he wouldn't wear an undershirt any ways under that. He does have a certain kind of shirt that he'll sometimes wear under his work shirts if he's going in for like a meeting or if he knows he's going to be outside all day. It's one of those like moisture wicking kind of shirts. But on a daily basis, he does not wear undershirts, and specifically under button-ups, he does not wear undershirts.
Yeah. So, sorry, Emily, you're just stuck with an old fat so with an undershirt. But
I
thanks
don't
for
care.
trying to come
it
to my
doesn't bother me.
Well,
if
that's
anything,
good because I'm not going to stop using them. Now, I did dabble once. I did dabble into the proverbial wife beater type of undershirt. Those were interesting, but I felt like you could see the outline of them too much. So I stopped using those. There was an old guy at church when we were kids. Not to cut you off, but this is an important story.
What is the real name of that type of shirt? It's not. You're not going to the store and seeing it labeled as a wife beater. So what is it called?
Well, the ones I wear are crew necks. Then you got V-necks, and those must just be tank. I guess it's like a tank. There was a guy at church that would wear them. You could tell this guy was. I mean, you could. It almost looked like he was wearing them only because it's like it came through his shirt. It's like he was like the shirts that he wore, like the buttons were like must have been made of like what's a very thin material.
I don't know.
Well, there was that. That was the kind he was wearing. It was so obvious. It's painful. I remember it to this day.
Was he old?
Old. Fortunately, I'm sure he's deceased by now. Isn't that crazy to think? People could be dead and, that you knew.
Please don't give me more material that I need to edit out.
It's just crazy, I'll be dead one day. This whole podcast.
But
it'll live on.
I mean, the Lord could come back and we could go up in the rapture. But then there is the off chance that, well, what if I'm really not where I should be and I don't get taken in the rapture and then I'm left behind?
Now, what happens after?
That's a whole other conversation.
So you're left behind.
Yeah.
Then what happens? Like, is he coming the third time?
No.
You're just stuck here.
No, I mean, you're not stuck. You will. I mean, death can still happen, but I don't know. I would need to go back and reread Revelation. It's all written out in Revelations. But after the rapture, if you are left behind, what is left behind? From my understanding,
why did you lean into the mic when you said what is left behind?
Is like destruction, and there's going to be like war and famine, and it's not going to be good if you are left behind. Now, I don't know what, like, I'm sure you could still, ask for repentance and, ask him to, live in your heart type of thing, do your own little altar call. And then like when you do die, then you could go to heaven. But I don't know, that's a whole nother podcast.
It's something to say for the love of Jesus that how would you like to be one of these people left behind? And then you're like, okay, I get it now. Then you finally give yourself to Jesus. I mean, once he's come back and you realize, okay, that was real. I should have been on that bandwagon. I think it kind of doesn't sell as much. I think on the third coming, if you will. Does that make sense?
You mean you don't think that people should be able to go to heaven after?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if he's willing to accept you, then he must really love you.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing.
Obviously, he does.
The whole.
Not to take up more time.
The end of the Bible should say, just so you know, he just really loves you. You could really screw up your life, and he's still going to be there for you.
Have you ever heard of that clockmaker theory, the watchmaker theory in theology? I think about that often, but I can never really remember what it is.
Never heard of it.
The intricate parts of a watch work together to keep time, so it must have a designer. Similarly, the complex parts of nature, like eyes, ears, wings, and bones, work together to serve a higher function, so nature must have a designer.
Oh, well, yes, I've heard something similar to that. Yeah, because I grew up in the church. You're going to hear all kinds of metaphors and analogies and stuff.
Yeah, well, but this was a little bit. Look it up, listener. Assuming this doesn't get edited.
I will most definitely be editing this, but this will not be making it into the final.
Why not? This is the juice that makes up the salad.
What? Who's putting juice in salad?
Dressing.
Okay, that's dressing. That's not juice. Great.
Well,
Oh my God.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no.
You can leave that part in.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
That could just be me doing the intro and then just put in thanks for having me and that'll be it.
Well, I don't
my
think
God.
I have anything more I need to add. Savannah, is there anything else you would like to say?
Thanks for still letting me call in and be part of this fun conversation.
Oh yeah, of course. We couldn't do it without you.
Well, Anthony, thank you for. Oh yeah, there was one that was a guy talk short,
Yeah.
but that was a long time ago.
That's a different kind of podcast.
Well, that's all I got.
Well,
Anthony, thanks for being on our podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry I'm so weird. It doesn't seem weird when it's just floating around in my head, but it comes out weird. That's what she said.
All right. Well, if you have made it to this portion of the podcast, go ahead and give yourself a great big pat on the back, because this took all sorts of twists and turns today. I didn't really know how we were going to navigate this and talk about everything, but here we are at the end, finally.
And next week probably won't be any better.
Yeah,
We'll
we shall
see.
see. Well, hopefully you will actually be in the studio, as they say, next week.
Yep.
If I can interrupt.
I will.
Sorry to interrupt you again, Savannah.
Okay, go ahead.
I just looked it up. What is the fuzzy thing on a microphone?
Oh my
What's
gosh.
the purpose? The windscreen. It's called a windscreen. Creates a chamber around the microphone that shields it from all unwanted interrupting noises.
So pretty much what we said.
Yep, exactly. But you guys didn't have the name for it.
Well, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have ever thought that it was called a wind screen.
Maybe a spit
No, I wouldn't have thought of that.
A spit thing.
I probably wouldn't even call it a screen. I probably would have called it a sponge.
I would have just called it like a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably good.
Alrighty.
Mic cover.
Yes, mic sponge cover. Alrighty. Well, this is now the end. I'm going to go ahead and call it. This is the end of this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chat with Anthony of the Eisen Law Firm. You can find his website at www.thepilotlawyer.com. He does have his own podcast. If you were at all interested in anything that he said about all that he does, if you understood anything that he said, or if you didn't understand it, but you would like to understand it more, he does have his own podcast called The Pilot Lawyer Podcast. You can find it on, I'm pretty sure, all of the same platforms that you can find our podcast on: Amazon, Apple, Spotify. So yeah, if you're interested in that, if you just liked listening to what he had to say, just go over there. There's him, and then both of his brothers. So 2 more of him pretty much also on that podcast over there. And that's all that we have today. Anthony, would you like to do the outro as well with the music?
I was going to wait for you to say something like, okay, and that's it. And I was going to say one more thing. And then I was going to.
Okay.
But go ahead.
All right. So that's all that we have for this week. And Anthony, would you like to say one more thing?
No, I wasn't going to actually say one more thing.
Oh, my gosh.
I was going to say, I got one more thing. Like you didn't want me to say anything more.
Shut up.
Well, real quick, I do want to say one thing. I just want to tell our listeners I appreciate everybody's understanding of my crazy schedule right now. I am doing my best to balance it all with work and school and the podcast and being a mom and a wife. And so I just want to say thank you to Emily for your understanding of everything that's going on right now. And I hope you guys all stick around and listen to future episodes and just bear with us as we navigate all of this in the coming, I was going to say months, but it's going to be years. So, but yeah, I just want to say that real quick.
On behalf of the listeners, let us say, no problem.
Yes, of course. I don't know or really care what the listeners have to say. I will always support you, and we will change our schedule around any time for you to be able to do your studying and your school stuff. So
good luck.
It's no problem.
Hey, if you when you become a doctor and you want to become an aviation medical examiner, give me a call.
I may just hit you up on that.
You could take the whole niche in the medical direction. I could pump people. I mean, I'm talking pump people your way. It could be its own business for sure.
Honestly, he probably could send like so many people to you.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Hit me up in 2 years. I would be happy to do that.
I'll give you a call. Why is Anthony calling me?
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back next week, and hopefully we'll have Aaron here to talk with us, or somebody else. Who knows what will happen next week. But yeah, we'll see you guys later.
I think you should ask Aaron about his man breast if he has any.
Oh my gosh. We finally had a good outro.
That's good. Girls.